them pulled up here. So I took section number 2 to look at the risk levels, because I think that's something that's the hardest thing for people to come to terms with, especially in today's day and age with Corona and the stock market going down. I usually get asked, like, should I take my money out of the stock market? And the answer is always no. I've got some information from my son's investments that I'll share with you guys later. And I guess long story short is his stocks are down 21% year to date. So starting from January through today, as are most investment portfolios. And so the main thing is we got to keep at it and learn how to do some techniques that will allow you to take on the right amount of risk for the age level that you're at. And so, Jalen, you kind of start us off about a 5. If investing hesitant to invest in a high risk stock, I'd probably be comfortable with investing in a lot of low risk stocks. Yeah, and so I'm actually going to try to challenge that mentality. What you're saying is a sentiment here of a lot of people. And what we want to do is use diversification, like we saw in kind of that first video, that you can be in a bunch of higher risk stocks. Higher risk, we're not getting crazy, all small companies. We'll talk more about the types of companies that we're investing in, but nonetheless, to get into some equities and stocks of all different sizes, you are going to be into higher risk. And what we learned from the first couple of videos is we wouldn't want to invest in any one of those as being our only investment, but rather through the use of diversification by spreading our eggs in a bunch of different baskets, we're going to lower that risk. So I want you guys to start thinking that I want to be in lots of higher risk, let me put onto Jalen's quote here, higher risk stocks. That's through diversification. If you're in lots of them, some of those stocks might end up earning 100%, and some of them might have negative 21%. But on average, what we see over the stock market as it goes through its ups and downs like this, here's the stock market, like there's coronavirus, whoops, and then we go up and down and it'll correct. Over time, that the stock market trend is what we're trying to capture. And so as long as you've got a investment window of 5 to 10 years, so if this is 5 years and this is 10 years, you can reasonably expect 8 to 12% return on average. So my son's investments that he's had for the last 5 years, we're averaging a little over 12%. Again, I'll share some of that information with you later, but he has indeed captured exactly what I lecture on, and he somewhat, took my word, trusted me that that was a good thing to do, and that's what this chapter is going to hopefully do for you guys too, to give you confidence to know that you can do this type of investing and you're actually really sound with it. So let me do a 10-second pause for any questions there so far. All right, who else do we got here? We got, so I agree that, I'm looking at Reese here, I agree that a person is, somebody got a chat? Is cryptocurrency a good investment? Short answer, no, and I'll probably talk about it a little bit later. So Corey, cryptocurrency is a lousy investment. At the end of this section, the last video section, Dave's going to walk you through a number of lousy investments, and gold. He doesn't mention cryptocurrency because the video is a little bit dated. It hasn't been quite as hot since he created the video. But Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies would fall right into that category, because when we think investment, we're thinking long term. And so right now there's so much volatility in Bitcoin. I like Bitcoin. I think it's the future of our currency, but at the same time, that doesn't necessarily make it a good investment. So we'll probably chat a little bit more on that later. So I agree that if a person is less comfortable with money and risk, then they would be most likely to not put in a lot of money for an investment. So the amount that we're going to put in, we're going to have a strategy for also. Go to the chat box right now. We haven't done this for a while, at least this step. Baby step number 4. If you guys could, everybody chat box number 4. Even if you see the right answer come up, I'd still like you to type it in just for kind of mental, getting your brain in the right direction here. So baby step number 4. Baby step number 4. Baby step number 1 is $1,000 emergency fund. Baby step number 2 is pay off all debt. Baby step number 3 is 3 to 6 months of expenses for your brand new emergency fund. And 15% of your income into retirement. Good. I like the way you're wording that too. Make sure you add income, 15% of your income. So whatever you're making is going to go towards these long-term investments. And so now we're going to take the guesswork out of it. So 15% of your income is what's going to be the number. So we don't have to feel like we're sacrificing in other areas to kind of address Reese's comment here. As far as whether we should put a lot, the stock market's low, should I ramp it up? We're going to use what's called dollar cost averaging. And with dollar cost averaging, you're going to decide what 15% of your income is. So if you're making, let's say $50,000 a year, 10% would be $5,000. So 15% would be $7,500 per year. So let's say that you end up doing about $500 per paycheck. And so you're going to be doing 500 per paycheck, 500 per paycheck, 500 per paycheck, 500 per paycheck, 500 per paycheck. And you're going to be putting it into that stock market, whether it's up or down. And so now you look like a genius when you put your $500 in here because the stock market climbed, right? This might have been Corona time or something. But you don't look so smart here. With this $500, you actually lost some money. But you don't worry about it because you've got 3 to 6 months of emergency fund saved. You're going to capture that 8 to 12% trend over time. And so that is the path that we're advising with this investment strategy. It's kind of a boring strategy. Corey brought up the sexiness. Well, he didn't bring up the sexiness. I'm bringing up the sexiness. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's super cool to get involved with a lot of exotic type investments. I've dabbled in them and I've always lost money. So I've done futures and options is a fun one that if you think something's going up, you don't have to take a long position in the stock market like what we're advising. It's called a long position. If you think a stock is going up, then you buy low and sell high, right? So it might do this: buy low, sell high. That's called a long position in a stock. And so you can also take what's called short positions. If you think the stock is going to go down, then you can bet money. I shouldn't use the word bet maybe because for legitimate reasons, but you can take a short position. So have you guys, chat box, heard about the story, The Big Short? Maybe some of you didn't even know what it was about really, but it was kind of a big movie, The Big Short. Give me a chat box of yes or no on The Big Short. You might have a little different appreciation for that movie now. It was kind of financial crisis related. So that's kind of a fun movie. It's a little, racy in some places, but it really shows how one guy was thinking that the stock market, everybody was thinking a long position. And when the financial crisis hit, the stock market plunged and he took a short position. So he made millions of dollars. One of the few people that predicted that there was problems in the financial markets. And so he became a multimillionaire. That's why it's called The Big Short. And it was a big Hollywood production. So it's kind of fun movie to watch, even if you're not into investing. Okay, let's see. I think we'll be moving on here. I might scan a little bit more. Any other questions coming to mind so far? Okay, Hunter, that's a good question with your discussion here. Oops, what did I just do? I apparently, let me see if I can use my back button here. I assume I just, see if it comes back. I think I clicked a link accidentally off of our discussion board. I might have to reset it now. Oh, coming back. Slowly but surely. Okay, well, or at least in personal finance. Hunter, if I could more succinctly remember your question, I might not have to open it back up, but I think it was a good, oh, you were talking about investment advisors. That's what it was. So let's see, Hunter. There we are. Oh, that wasn't it though. There we go. All right, so let me try this again without hopefully screwing it up. So why is it important to understand your investment decisions if you work with an investment advisor, right? So, you always got to be mindful of incentives. That's what hopefully if some of you who will take my Principles of Microeconomics class, if you're a business major, it's required. But even if you're not a business major, even if you're thinking about business, it's one of the core classes and it'll really make you think about incentives. And so sometimes investment advisors might be looking more for their commission. And so that's possible that they might be steering you into investments that might get them more money. And they might not even be doing this deviously always, but there's always, they have incentives from their company. So if you work with Edward Jones or some other places, that reminds me, I do have to mention something else. Let me mention it to you guys right now. I have a former graduate, he just graduated and he's been knocking the lights out for, misspelled it, Northwestern Mutual. Chatbox, have you guys heard of Northwestern Mutual Insurance? It's an insurance company. So Chatbox, Northwestern Mutual. Does that ring a bell for you guys? You might have heard some stuff. So Jordan Ramirez Jennings is an economics student. He was also accounting, so a bright guy. He did the internship for Northwestern Mutual, and he reached out to me a week or so ago and offered to do some sessions about talking about the internships that are available with his company. He's a new representative, and like I said, he was one of the superstars in the internship program while he was taking classes with us. And so he's going to host a couple meetings. One is today, and one is Friday, I think is what he's got it set up. So after we get done with class, I'm going to send out a invite for you guys to accept or reject one of his meetings. It's totally optional. You don't have to go, but if you want to, I'm offering it to all my classes. And it's just to learn about their company and how, if you're looking for an internship, they are hiring even during the COVID times. Some of the companies have shut down their internships. It's a little bit more of a, well, they have different roles. But he was more on the sales side of selling different types of policies and offerings that Northwestern Mutual has. So anyway, you can look for that in your inbox. We'll have that as an opportunity for you to learn more. All right, so you do have to be careful about that with your advisors. Making sure that your advisor is teaching you is what you're going to hear in the lessons from Dave. is that you don't just want an investor that says, do this, do that. You need to know your own deal. You need to come to them with the general program that we're going to be using in this class to say, this is what I want. How can you help me achieve this strategy? So you want to be a little bit more direct with what your intentions are. And sometimes there's great investment advisors. I have, again, former graduates that have gone on to be wealth advisors and whatnot. But you do have to know your own, and most importantly, find an investment advisor that's going to be a good teacher for you, that's going to work alongside you, and don't just look for the expert who is going to just tell you what to do. So any questions or comments there? All right, let's see if we can. That. All right, let's open up our e-text stuff. So we've got 3 videos left with the investment section. So we talked about risk and return with the first 2 videos, diversification. And then what we're going to focus in on now is where you're going to put that diversification. So video section number 3 is going to highlight stocks and bonds and mutual funds. And so mutual funds are the thing that we'll spend a little bit more time on today talking about. That is your thing. That is really what you're going to be putting your money into. And we'll explain why here in a minute. So mutual funds are a company that buys a bunch of stocks and creates their own portfolio for you to purchase. So I've got a company that my son and my parents got into that's a good long-term company. Let me throw this over here. So it's called, I don't mean to be giving it a plug here. I have no commissions or anything, but it's called Vanguard. And Vanguard has a family of offerings. They probably have at least 80. I don't even know for sure, but there's to give you an idea, there's about 9,600, I think, mutual fund options out there. So Vanguard is one company that offers a number of options. And so they can have a number of different investments for you to purchase. So one of those investments might be in really big companies. So you've got another, let me just put this as A, B, C. All of these are investment options under Vanguard. And so let's say that C is what they call their large cap. Maybe I'll try using my stylus pen here. Large cap. And a large cap mutual fund has a number of different companies that you guys would recognize. So one of those companies might be, I'm gonna squat my screen down here. Might be Home Depot. Another company might be Apple. Another company might be Lowe's. Apparently I'm on home improvement here. Another company might be Procter and Gamble. They make a bunch of hair care products and other things. Another company might be Boeing, that makes airlines. So they have a bunch of large, well-known brand companies. Maybe it's Applebee's, Walmart, of course, Amazon. All right, so we have all of these companies that they have a piece of. And so when you buy mutual fund C, their large cap mutual funds, when you buy their large cap mutual funds, What you're really doing is you're instantly buying shares of all of these companies. So maybe they have 2% Home Depot, 2%. Maybe I'll try to avoid the percent here. They've got 5% Apple. They've got 4% Amazon. They've got 1% Lowe's. They've got 3% Procter & Gamble and 2% Boeing. So if we look at their entire portfolio, they might have 200 stocks that are in their portfolio. So when you buy one share, let's say that Vanguard is offering this for sale, you can buy one share of the large cap offering C, the large cap investment. Currently on Wall Street, let's just say the price of one share of their investment is $100. So that means when you put your $100 into that mutual fund, you instantly just put $2 into Home Depot. You instantly put $5 into Apple. You instantly put $4 into Amazon. You put $1 into Lowe's. You put $3 into P&G. So let me go to the chat box here. Does everybody kind of get the general gist of what I'm saying here with what a mutual fund is? Give me a yes or a no. I want to take a little poll. I forgot I was going to try to set up a poll function. Does that make sense? And then as you're giving me your yeses and nos, if you have any clarifying questions or comments, go ahead and unmute and let me know. Okay, so you can see the diversification. Going back to that theme that we had, this is the highlight of diversification. Diversification, right? Your $100 investment is right there. So Apple stock, by the way, if you were to go buy one share of Apple stock, that stock might be, I think recently it's been as high as $330. I don't know what it is today. But to buy one share of Apple might cost you $330. So this allows you the ability to buy just a $5 piece of Apple through owning the Vanguard mutual fund. Okay, 10-second pause for questions. I might even try to take a picture of this one, just in case. Screen saved, okay. So we'll get rid of that. I want to go to this little sheet. And on this sheet, it's your typical Venn diagram that we can look at the difference between single stocks and mutual funds. So when you invest in Apple, you're getting one company. Because it's one company, you're facing a high degree of risk. You work with a broker, and the common person averages about 7% when they go investing in mutual funds, or in single stocks rather. Mutual funds, as we just got done showing, is a whole bunch of single stocks in one place. So you might have on average 90 to 200 companies. Some of them could be as high. Well, you can buy ones that mirror, if you guys have heard of the S&P 500. So there's 500 companies. Those are the top biggest 500 companies that are out there. And one of the Vanguard offerings is actually investing in the S&P 500, and it has very low fees. Corey, I'm not sure on Acorns. Go ahead, why don't you unmute and tell us what, it rings a bell, but I can't remember what it is.
I mean, it's kind of like Vanguard, I think, but I got it off of like Facebook or something, and it seems to work. It takes like like on your card, if you use $5.95, it puts 5 cents towards your mutual fund whenever you use your card. And then it goes
I see. Okay. So it's just a, kind of a gimmick to get you savings. You're using some sort of card with purchases tied to it, and then it's putting it in some investments as you do it.
Yes.
Okay. I wouldn't in general advise something like that. We're going to have a little bit stronger plan. If you still have debts right now, if you're on baby step number 2, the program that we're putting together with the 7 baby steps would say you shouldn't be doing baby step number 4 essentially until you've completed baby steps 1 through 3. So I'm not a fan of some of the gimmicky stuff, just because hopefully as you guys come out of this class, you'll have a better plan for your system. I think now that's where I've heard of that Acorns app, that you're kind of innocently investing, so to speak, because 5% without you really knowing it is going into the investments. And
I only put $5 a month into Acorns.
Okay.
For now.
For now, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. I'd rather see that $5 a month go towards your debt, unless you're debt free already.
Yeah, I'm debt free. I don't have no debt.
Oh, okay. Well, then you should be, yeah, if you're not employed or something, then you might not have the 15%, of course. But once you get up to 3 to 6 months emergency fund, then if you want Acorns, if that's kind of fun, I would just have it be part of your overall program. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I only have like $63 into it, but it says potential for age 58. It says I can make $67,000 if I keep on putting $5 a month.
Yeah. Like I said, I would just have it be part of your overall program. You can see how whatever you're doing with $5 a month, or if it's measured as a percent, that app is doing what we're saying to do in this as part of this program, right? Because as you're putting $5 a month, $5, you're doing what's called the dollar cost averaging, the exact same thing that we were mentioning. So as long as you kind of acknowledge or have that as part of your program, something like that would be fine. Okay. So this is kind of the interesting thing. Notice with the Venn diagram down here, 97% of all mutual funds over a 5-year period have made money. They've been up. And here, 100% have made money. In other words, from this little picture that I just drew up here, you are really eliminating a lot of your risk. If you're in it for the long haul, even if you bought it here when the market was, oops, let me go back to my drawing. Even if the market was at the peak here, let me put that in red. As long as you had 5 years, 5 years later, so greater than 10 years, I guess, the way I drew this graph, as long as you're in it for the long haul, every mutual fund has made money in 10 years. Most of them rebounded within months. But that's, I think, an impressive thing about mutual funds, to say, don't gamble with your money. If you're following the baby steps and you're ready for putting money into investing, just do it this way. And as long as you got a 10-year window, you can reasonably expect to not be down. And you should be averaging that range of 8 to 12%. Okay, 10-second pause for questions as I reset here. All right, so here's where we're going to be putting our money. So nice, easy. One of our principles was keep it simple, stupid. So this is your breakdown. So if you were putting, let's go $400 per month, you're at baby step number 1, and you figured out 15% of your income, and that is $400 per month. Then what you're going to do is put $100 into mid-cap funds, $100 into large cap, I already mentioned those, $100 into international funds, and $100 into small cap funds. So all of these mutual fund companies, this is kind of industry language. So over here, you can see, so large cap funds are growth and income funds. So you'll have a fund that's called American Century's Growth and Income Fund. And when they use that language, they are investing in these, what we call large capitalization rates. These are the big companies. And then we've got medium-sized funds. So these would be growth stock instead of income funds. And then we've got the, I don't want to mess up my thing there, the aggressive stocks, the small cap. These are going to be your small up and coming companies, right? And then of course, international, we're going to have a taste of the globe. So by the time you put in your $400, you've probably purchased 1,000 companies. You are now the owner. Remember our difference between bonds and stocks that we did on Monday. You now are the owner of about 1,000 companies, some of the biggest and best companies around the globe, you now are an owner of. And so this is just such an awesome way that, you know, people with no clout and no big jobs that are just earning a regular normal job, making $40,000 a year or whatever. This is a way that you can be a global player in the marketplace. And by putting your money in these mutual funds, you're going to be capturing all of the benefits that big time investors can do. All right, so let me 10-second pause for questions there. So again, just to emphasize the 1,000, maybe I'm kind of overdoing it, but I get kind of excited about this. But my little spokes, right? You've got a bunch of companies that are of that type. You've got a bunch of companies that are of this type. You've got a bunch of companies that are of this type, of the small cap. And those are going to be more volatile, more risky, by the way. And then you've got a whole bunch of international. So that's how you've reached out through this strategy to be a global player. All right, what else we got today here? Oh, Ben and Arthur. Yeah, we got to talk about Ben and Arthur. So we're reviving Ben and Arthur. You might remember Ben and Arthur from before. And Ben and Arthur are brothers. And Ben started early. So I'd like to think Ben is kind of similar to my son. I actually showed him this exact same thing. Ben put in $2,000 per year from age 19 to 26. So in the chat box, how many years did he invest? Because notice that he's investing 0 the rest of the way. So chat box, how many years did he invest? How many do you see up there? 6, a little more than 6. 19, age 19 to 26, 8, yes. So there's a couple years there. You have to count the 19 when you go up to 26, and then you got 20. So there's 8 years. So 8 times 2,000 is just 16,000 bucks. All right, so that's 16K, $16,000 is what Ben put in. His brother said, oh, well, I'm going to, you know, use my money for other things, and I'm not going to start investing till I'm 27. And so he starts investing. So that is the story of Ben and Arthur. And what's amazing here then is that once we look at the difference, it's quite striking. So when they get to the bottom of their end of their line here at age 60, well, not the end of the line, hopefully it's just the beginning of 20 more years at a minimum of retirement, Ben, who just put in the 16,000, has $2.2 million. Meanwhile, his brother, who's been slaving away with the 2,000 for the last 40 years, has 1.5. So it really shows the power of compound interest is the lesson there. And it also shows the power of starting early. Now, go to the chat box, would Arthur, this is Arthur here. So this is Arthur, this is Ben. Would Arthur ever catch up to Ben is my question. would Arthur ever catch up to Ben if he kept putting in the 2,000? Good. Yes, that's right. The answer is yes. So eventually, mathematically, he would catch up. And it would probably be in about 10 years. I mean, we can, you could run the numbers and go a little bit further. But the point is, if 64 is your target range, starting early is a key. And so if hopefully as a young person you find this motivating, that if you're a 20-something and you're debt-free, you could really start putting 2,000, because $2,000 a year isn't a lot, right? You guys can probably afford a lot more. Again, if you have a job of $40,000 per year, which if you end up having a significant other or get married, maybe combined, your income might even be higher, of course, but even at $40,000, 15%, baby step number 4 is 10% of 40,000 is 4,000. Half of that is 2. That's $6,000 per year. Now you plug that into your investing calculator, which some of what you guys are going to do, you're going to be getting up to that level a lot quicker, and you're going to be positioned to do that. Okay, 10-second, $166 a month, correct, Corey, for the $2,000 a year, which some of you might have car payments that are more than that, or as a new graduate, you'd certainly be willing to take on a car payment of $166 a month. You're like, oh, I can afford that. I'm here to tell you, don't do that. Pay cash for your cars, right? Pay cash for your cars and put that money into this system. Because this, and this one for that matter, is a beautiful thing, right? We want to have that. All right. So that's Ben and Arthur. You'll see that in the videos as well. Okay, so then our last section is going to talk about real estate. In fact, let me just zoom this out a little. So chapter 12, we're going to spend some time on real estate. I'm a real big fan of real estate. I've invested literally millions into investment. I don't have millions now because when I came to teach full time, I ended up selling out, but I still have some real estate properties, and I think it's a great way for you to make some money. It takes a special kind of knack. Of course, most of us have some real estate because we end up owning our own home, but that can be a very cool place. Annuities are something to avoid. So we're in general going to avoid this. So when you get into that section, he's going to talk about not doing that. Actually, a lot of this video section is about not doing. And then here is horrible investments. And as we were talking earlier, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency would be added to that list. And it's not horrible because the thing is horrible. Like you might have some gold watches or some gold things and you're like, oh, gold is cool. But, we just had one of the worst crises that the United States and the world has faced with this coronavirus. And people don't all of a sudden run to gold, like somehow gold is the thing. Well, when, we're going to probably go back to a system on gold. No, we're not. We're not going to go back to a system on gold. Gold has a horrible track record and not a place to put your money. And that's kind of where Bitcoin and stuff is at this point too, in terms of it being a solid investment. We're looking for things that are going to lower the risk. Judging by your guys' risk levels in your discussion, these are definitely things that you want to avoid. You're going to hear lots of people talking about it. And, you go out for a restaurant or a bar when we can finally do that, and you're having drinks and this guy across the bar starts talking up. It's a friend of a friend. And he's like, oh, I just made, $2,000 in Bitcoin, man. It's been treating me so good. And the thing is, when you hear stories like that, they very well might be the truth. But in terms of being able to pull off a good rate of return consistently for the long term, it doesn't exist. And so that is through, you know, I guess you guys can rely on me a little bit that since I got my PhD in economics, I've read lots of books, taken lots of classes and lots of theories that stuff doesn't exist. So when you hear people talking that way, if you want to, you can send me an email. All of my previous students, you guys can lean on me for questions in the future. I enjoy getting some things back from students, and, you know, oh, I heard this guy at a bar talking about Bitcoin. Is that a good thing? You know, I'll bring you back to reality that it's not. And so hopefully you guys are keeping a physical. Remember how at the beginning of class I can't help but bring this up, that we have a physical copy of the book or something, so that you guys 5 years later, when you hear that, oh, I heard about this great new investment, you can pull this off the shelf and say, oh, I remember in chapter 10, it was towards the end when we talked about investments. No, that's a terrible investment, and here's why. Okay, 10-second pause for questions. All right, so that kind of, that's the snapshot of the video sections. I want to turn our attention to the end here to the case study. So if you guys want to go ahead and pull up the case study, this will be a part of our assignment, our in class. I won't have you do the discussion board again for the videos. So today's discussion, we're going to do one of these case studies. And so I want to do, Jackson and Tanner. So this will be due tonight at midnight at the latest, but we've got about 5 minutes left of class. So we're going to wrap up with this. You guys can enter your work directly in here if you have that available for you. So Jackson is a senior in college, and he has a friend, Tanner. They are very close, and they talk openly about things, including money investments. Tanner's a business major and tells Jackson that he should put all of his savings into a stock of an internet company that's doing great and is sure a way to make money. Jackson is hesitant, but also confused because he knows very little about investing. So, is Tanner giving sound advice? So that should be a sentence or two. You can just put, is Tanner giving sound advice? From what, if you guys were listening to me the last 45 minutes or so, explain to Tanner, or explain to Jackson, that Tanner's advice isn't so sound. What are some of the things that you picked up from today's lesson? Okay, good. Hunter, I see you posted that. Just make sure that you're also posting it, like, this will be part of your in-class points today. So I was going to have you guys share on the chat box. So hopefully, Hunter, you just cut and pasted that. But if you didn't, make sure you put that answer back into your actual buzz for grading later too. And again, I'll have all of this due by midnight tonight. All right, so is investing even a good thing? So tackle number 2, is investing even a good thing for Jackson to do at this time? In other words, I also walked through this. I'll give you a hint. It's kind of the discussion I had with Corey. How you answer that, you should be thinking about the baby steps. Is investing even a good thing for Jackson, who's a college student right now? Under what conditions would it be a good thing for Jackson? I suspect it's likely not a good thing, but you know, that's what's fun about personal finance and wealth advising, is that people are in all sorts of different situations. You know, sometimes people had, maybe some of you on the line here had a big trust fund or something that grandpa and grandma set up a $250,000 college account. I'm speaking from experience that I know of a person where their two sons had a $250,000 college account, right? So they could literally go to college basically anywhere, and with money left over. They got spending money and everything. So yeah, they could be talking about getting into some investments. And the advice for them is the same as it is to everybody. So think about the baby steps as you answer that problem, and give some advice to Jackson. These are the types of things that I hope you'll start to internalize as you enter the fray of the real world. There are lots of bright, shiny, sparkly objects. When I say stuff like that, I mean, I'm talking about stuff like Bitcoin or Tesla is a good stock to be in, or whatever. There's lots of people chasing the shiny object, and you really need to be ground well in these principles of diversification and longer term thinking, longer term investing, rather than the short buck. All right, so as far as the requirement for class participation, you just had to do 1 and 2. You don't have to do 3. So I would like, as a final thing here, if some of you could cut and paste your answer from number 2, is investing even a good thing for Jackson, just to share that. Paraphrase a little bit, like maybe what baby step should he be? No, not until he learns more about it. Good. So just learning about it, Jalen, that's true. He's young, may not be the best idea, but he has to be through baby steps 3. Good, yep, exactly. So if he's debt free and he has the emergency fund, which would be to the baby step number 3, the big emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses, right? So yeah, those are the things we want to do. And so people will tell all sorts of stories about, oh, you can make more money in the stock market. You can earn 10% and I have a 0% loan. So that would be somehow a good thing to do. And it's just not. These principles of the 7 baby steps have been developed over a long period of time. All right, so good. Let me stop the share here, and it looks like we're about time. Stop share, see your guys' faces. Well, that was fun. I don't know if you had fun, but I had fun. So